Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, quick warning before we do get into today's stories, we're looking at only the AmIOverreacting subreddit, or may not be updates depending on the story. I don't know as yet until we jump into them, but I know some people like that warning in advance, so there you go. Today's first story is from Pretty Pineapple Berry from the AmIOverreacting subreddit, saying, "Am I overreacting? My husband, 26 male, locked me, 25 female, out for 25 minutes. Throwaway account. My husband and I have a 3-year-old twin girls. I'm currently 6 months pregnant with our third. We got into an argument over letting our daughters play outside. We got hit hard with the snow, but we both had work, so we didn't really have a chance to let the girls play in it. We were both off today, so I thought, perfect opportunity. This was the first winter they were old enough to care about snow, and they were mesmerized by it. So this morning I told my husband I'm going to take the girls out to play. He said he didn't want to come because it's too cold. I said that's fine, I'm taking them. He said he didn't want any of us outside because it's too cold and the girls will get sick. I kinda just laughed and said we won't be long. It's 25 Fahrenheit, not -20. I probably didn't handle it the best and brushed him off, and he dropped it after that. I got the girls bundled up and we headed out front. We had fun for a few minutes and they loved it, but within 10 minutes my husband was at the front door calling for the girls to come in. They go inside and I'm just kinda standing in the front yard, annoyed for a moment. I go inside only to find he has locked the door. I'm mad now and I have to pee. I start knocking and calling for him, but he doesn't come to the door and is ignoring my texts and calls too. He even texted that I really needed to pee and he ignored that too. The most upsetting part is that I could hear one of my daughters crying the entire time, stressed out, knowing her mum is outside. So I stopped knocking and sat on our porch. 25 minutes go by and he finally comes in and locks the door. I push past him to go to the bathroom because I'm mad, about to pee myself and freezing at this point. He's smiling like it's funny and saying, "Oh, I thought you said it's not that cold. What's wrong?" We haven't spoken much today after that. He's genuinely never done anything like this before. He's caring and not punishing or vindictive, so this really isn't in his nature. I'm appalled and really hurt. I understand I annoyed him by taking the girls out and he thinks I undermined his parenting. But I'm a grown woman. He doesn't get to punish me by locking me out of my own home. Or maybe he's justified. I don't know. I feel crazy. Am I overreacting? Now, of course, absolutely not overreacting in this situation. Locking your pregnant spouse outside in freezing weather, especially when you said you needed to pee, it isn't a joke. It's just a punishment, isn't it? The fact that he ignored you for 25 minutes while your child was crying makes it worse. That's not "I was worried about the cold." That's "I'm going to teach you a lesson." It was planned, it's vindictive, and even if he felt undermined, the adult response is talking it out, not physically controlling access to your own fucking home. And I understand OP saying that this is the first time he's done this, etc., but I would ask anyone who says that to truly reflect on it just to see if that is actually true, because it's a really weird thing to do out of nowhere. Obsolete Complete says, "Not overreacting. There's a big difference between going outside and actively playing in the snow for a few minutes and sitting out in the freezing cold. People take their kids skiing all the time. There are also countries that leave their children to nap outside in the snow in their prams, appropriately clothed and covered, of course. Also, it isn't even about being cold so much. He refused you access to your own home. He separated you from your children while they were distressed. He could have made you soil yourself and showed your girls that men don't need to respect the women they are in a relationship with, all to teach you a lesson, because you dared not agree with his every opinion and decided to create a beautiful moment for your kids instead. How would he have felt if you had to go to your neighbors to use the bathroom and explain exactly why to them? Would he have been embarrassed for other people to have known what he did to you, or would he have stood by it? I would have been keeping an eye on that type of behavior to make sure he doesn't escalate. His actions were completely over the top and totally out of proportion to the situation." OP talking about going to the neighbor. That would have been an interesting thing to do. I bet he would have flipped his shit though. Bella Missy Storm says, "Yeah, he's a piece of shit. Your kid was crying, clearly knew you were outside. If your kiddo is old enough, they probably wanted to open the door for you, and your husband would have told them not to. Not the behavior they should see from a grown-ass man. Also, you're pregnant, and this is the way he's treating you. I mean, he shouldn't be treating you like this at all, but what the actual fuck? Unicorn says, not overreacting. When my ex-husband and I had a fight one cold evening, I went to our bedroom to try and calm down. I was changing my clothes and was still in my bra and panties when he came into our bedroom and picked me up. He carried me to the back door, took me to the driveway, put me down and quickly went inside, closing the door and locking it. It was about 25 degrees Fahrenheit. I was out there, in shock, expecting him to open the door right away. Only when I start walking down the driveway to cross the street to a friend's house did he unlock the door. The next day I made an appointment with a therapist and I began plans to hire an attorney and eventually divorce him. This is cruel, manipulative and controlling behavior. It's also indicative of deep problems he has. Do not ignore signs that he may show you. Bloody hell, that is absolutely terrifying. Imagine how shocking a situation that would be. Just be picked up, put outside when you're vulnerable. Good on that commenter for dealing with it the way they did though. And one more comment who says, not overreacting. That is tantamount to abuse from your husband to punish you for taking your children outside. I get if he doesn't want to go out for the fresh air to play with the children, but to actually take the decision to lock you out is ludicrous. Plus, what about him not only undermining your parenting, but also allowing your children to get the idea that mum isn't as important as dad, and that it's okay to lock you out of the home, or they cry? Not good parenting skills from my perspective. Is he your master or overlord rather than a life partner? But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of that situation? Let us know your thoughts and let's move on to another story. Now, our next one comes from Skull Cow, who says, am I overreacting to thinking the woman working at Office Max is absolutely insane? I, 28 female, had to print out some papers at Office Max to take to the DMV yesterday because I'm registering an out-of-state car. The car was my father's and he gave the car to me. I had to register it in my name and in the state I live. One of the papers I needed to print was a gift affidavit, which makes it so I don't have to pay taxes on the car sale when registering it since it was a gift. My father printed and signed and notarized the affidavit and then scanned it and sent it to me so I could print and sign and get it notarized too. The printer at Office Max was not printing it out from my USB. The woman in charge of the printers working there asked me what I was trying to print. I told her. She then told me that the state we're in does not do gift affidavits anymore for cars, and that's why the printer wasn't printing it. I told her that we had just downloaded it from the DMV official website, and it's just a PDF, and how would the printer know not to print something that wasn't offered by the DMV anymore? The Office Max employee persisted, told me I'd have to pay the full sales tax on the car, that the printer knows the PDF is illegal, and that's why it won't print it. I calmly told her that the printer does not have a brain and cannot read what I'm trying to print out, that it's not illegal to print paper I got from the DMV's official website, and that the gift affidavit is absolutely still a real thing. She refused to help me more. I also told her my dad had no problem printing it on his end, just to see what she'd say. She told me that the printer knows he already printed it out, and so that's why it won't let me print it again. I asked how a printer at Office Max knows my dad printed out a PDF from his personal printer many states away. She told me, the printer knows when something is illegal. I drove to the UPS store where they printed and notarized the form for me in under 5 minutes. Went to the DMV and registered the car and they accepted. My gift affidavit saving me hundreds of dollars. Am I overreacting that I can't stop thinking about how crazy the woman from Office Max was? How do they allow her to run the printers there? Why does she think those old printers can somehow read people's documents and decide not to print certain things? I gotta say, it did make me chuckle when she said, the printer knows when something is illegal. And pats the printer at the same time. The only thing I can really think that maybe she was thinking about, and it's a bit of a jump, is that, you know, printers don't print money or scanners don't scan money, all that kind of stuff. But just bloody hell. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Traditional, who says, am I overreacting for wanting to leave my husband for talking to a coworker non-stop? Am I overreacting for wanting a separation from my husband after I asked him to stop texting a female coworker all day long and he just won't stop? My husband works from home while I run a business. I'm a solo employee and most of the time I don't have time to text all day. We had a baby last April and at the same time my husband's female coworker had a baby. After our babies were born, they somehow connected over that. I struggled with PPD and PPA, and so did said coworker. It bothered me how often they text, but I was so stressed I just didn't find the energy to tell him at first. Then, this past winter, I would see her name pop up on his phone, or while in the car almost every day. I questioned him, and he said they are just friends. A few days later, I told him I did not feel comfortable that he's working from home and texting her all day when I'm working my butt off running a business. He said he would call it, and I appreciated the effort. Fast forward to a few weeks ago. All this time he's never said, "Here, look at the text, it's all friendly conversation." So I looked through his phone, and when I say they talk all day every day, I mean hundreds of texts being sent within a week's time, talking about work, hobbies, our babies, etc. One thing that stood out to me is he asked what color shoes he should get for running between blue and white. And I picked blue, but he ended up getting the white shoes delivered. Didn't think much of it until I saw he had asked her, and she picked the white shoes. There was much more things text that I didn't love, so I confronted him the next day. I told him I didn't feel comfortable that they text as much as they did and told him I needed space. He started freaking out and telling me that he would not text her and that he would tell her that I wasn't comfortable with it. He finally did tell her a week later after she texted him asking why he called out of work. Our kid's sitter was sick. She said she understood. Then yesterday I told him how much better I felt knowing they don't talk all day, and he went quiet and turned white. I asked if he was okay, and he said he didn't feel well. This morning I asked to see his work chat with her, and he started freaking out saying, "Okay, I did reach out to her yesterday about work." I said, "Okay, let me see then." And the messages were apologizing to her about having to text her that they couldn't talk anymore and nothing about work. I didn't even finish reading his messages. Her reply and then his reply. I told him I knew yesterday when I told you how much better I felt knowing you all didn't talk, and he was silent. I once again told him I need space, and now I want a separation. He said he would do anything to not lose me. Now I want to leave him, as I've asked him multiple times to stop and he just won't. He lied and I feel like he emotionally cheated. Am I overreacting? Healing Tangerine says not overreacting. This is a textbook definition of emotional cheating. You'd think that after having a baby he would be bonding with you, not his co-worker. I find it very odd how he simply cannot stop himself from interacting with her. I wonder if her husband knows. Struggle Particular says he'll do anything not to lose you except not carry an emotional affair with another woman from work. Give me a fucking break. This guy's a loser. You connected over another woman having the same issues as your wife, and instead of supporting your wife, you clung to a co-worker. You told him you were uncomfortable, he did it anyways and then lied. And apologizing to her makes it sound like, "Sorry, I really want this, but I'm not allowed." Educational Nerve says, been there, done that. 17 years later and 5 kids later, my now ex-husband was doing this at his first job when I found out it had been going on for about 9 to 10 months. He said he would cut it off and he never did. A year after that, her husband came to my house to tell me that our spouses were having a physical affair. He denied it until her husband presented me with evidence. It started off as friendly conversation and turned physical. Needless to say, I did not hesitate to file. 5 kids or not, I'm not going to be married to somebody who does that. Please don't have any more kids with him. Gather everything you can and I would leave quietly without giving him a warning. He's going to gaslight you and apologize profusely, but it is not a true apology. The actions show otherwise, and at this point, he isn't showing that he truly cares or loves you. A commenter who also went through a similar situation as OP related to it and said 100% he's crossing the line, and OP replied saying thank you for this. I'm so hurt still. I feel like I want to run away from it all so I didn't have to deal with it. He admitted today that he now sees how it was actually an emotional affair, and he knew he shouldn't have done it but couldn't stop himself. What hurts the most is when he reached out to her last, he told her she didn't do nothing wrong, and how I freaked out at what seemed like out of nowhere. I just don't know if I could work past this. I'm very happy that you were able to work past this, and I'm glad your husband listened to your needs and stopped talking to her. I feel so done with him. The devil is in the details of everything, and that's what gets to me the most. Like the last message apologizing to her was sent at 9:12 when I had to leave the house at 9 AM. I also don't work Mondays, so he waited until Tuesday to send it. On his birthday, he saw a lighter that was bought the night of a work outing where she attended, and he smiled when he saw it, night of his birthday. Then texted her that night about how the lighter reminded him of that night of the work outing. Then I asked him who started this whole thing, who texted first. He said she texted him first, and going back to him apologizing to her saying she did nothing wrong. I think she has just as much fault than him. I'm resentful right now. I'm not sure if I'll ever not be. And I think ultimately that's the problem, isn't it? How do you trust again? He's lied multiple times. He's clearly having an emotional affair in this. And he's basically putting the blame on you for not being able to talk to her anymore, sending her messages like, oh, wife is against this, so I can't talk to you anymore. So almost like leaving that door open for him still. But what do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, if you're eating, I'm just going by the title here, you might want to skip this next story. It talks of animal waste. If you do want to skip it, timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. It's from OK Understanding 5641 and says, "Am I overreacting? Fiance knew there was cat shit on my side of the bed and didn't say anything." Oh, gee bloody whiz. I'm so disgusted right now, and I just need to have a reality check if I'm being out of pocket. My fiance, male 31, and I, female 29, share an apartment, and he inherited my cat, male 10, when we moved in together. Love my cat to death, literal light of my life. We've basically grown up together through some formative years of my life, so believe me when I say he is pretty much always glued to me. He sleeps in bed with me pretty much every night, and sometimes throughout the day will lay on my side of the bed if the sunspot is appealing enough. So here's what happened. I work a 9 to 5 hybrid job and was working from home both yesterday and today. My fiance is a DSW and was off yesterday, and then didn't have to go in until 4 PM this afternoon for his shift today. Obviously, since he was able to, he slept in later than I could both days because of my work schedule. That's fine, whatever. He generally works until 10 PM and doesn't get home until almost 11 PM because of his commute. I usually try to stay up to make sure he got home safe before heading off to bed. Imagine my surprise when I went into the bedroom after he got home tonight to see a huge skid mark of cat shit across the duvet on my side of the bed. I was more than a little grossed out to see this and asked him if I was looking at what I thought I was looking at. His reply, "Yeah, I noticed that yesterday." Excuse me, what? He noticed there was cat shit on my side of the bed and just left it there and didn't say a word. I'm someone who pulls the blankets right up to my face, and I'm absolutely repulsed by the fact that there was fucking shit so close to me all night. I must not have noticed last night because when I was brushing my teeth, he pulled back the blankets for me to get into bed before saying goodnight, so it must have been covered under the folded blanket. I just looked at him stunned and was like, "You didn't think to, I don't know, take the duvet cover off and wash it while you were home yesterday? Or I don't know, tell me. And I would have washed it while I worked from home today, or before he left for work at 3 PM. Like, I'm just absolutely appalled right now. I cannot imagine letting him sleep under a blanket that I know in my mind has literal poop right under his freaking face. He obviously could tell I was pissed off, and went with a wet piece of paper towel and proceeded to smear it all over the blanket, and that was my final straw. I told him to get out of the room before I lose my shit, and took off the duvet cover and put it in the washing machine for the morning. He asked me for a kiss, and I just basically said this is not a good time to be in my face because I'm just disgusted and honestly trying to figure out how a 31-year-old man thinks this is not disgusting. Am I overreacting? Is it me, or when it said, he pulled back the blankets for me to get into bed, he was purposely trying to cover it. He did see it and was just covering it so OP didn't notice. Neon Rocket says to OP, "No, not overreacting. I immediately throw stuff in the wash with bedding or rugs and have a carpet cleaner I use for carpet when needed. Not only should he have cleaned it, even if it happened to him by himself, but to leave it there almost feels like his logic was, well, it won't affect me, so I'm good. It seems hard to believe an adult wouldn't know to wash something like this, but some kids are raised having to do literally nothing. I'd be mad too if I were you. It's gross." Commenter says, "That's honestly what I thought. He probably didn't care because it wasn't his side, and he said to me on my way to the washing machine, 'I made sure your pillow wasn't touching it when I made the bed this morning.' Like, gee, thanks so much for that. The fuck? Bro made the bed with shit in it. Oh dear, come on, man." The commenter says, "Not overreacting. Wow, that's beyond laziness. And the fact that he pulled the blanket down to cover it is beyond me." Opie says, "I didn't even think he was trying to cover it by folding down the blankets, but now hearing this from a bunch of people, I'm like, oh, I just thought he was being nice." Someone says, "Did he maybe grow up in a dirty house?" Opie says, "I've been to his mum's house and it's not what I would consider super dirty, but it's definitely not clean. I grew up in a household where my mum was obsessed with cleaning, so my frame of reference is also skewed pretty heavily that way, and has translated over to how I like to standardize hygiene in my house. I've noticed misalignment in that area more than once with him, so it's definitely a reason to pause for me at this point. You know, there's OP worrying about their frame of reference being skewed pretty heavily and being, obsessed with cleaning or whatever, but there's also not wanting to have shit in your bed at the same time. And yeah, I don't blame you for that at all. I don't think there's much else to say about that apart from it's bloody grim. And absolutely not overreacting at all. But what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts and let's move on to another one. Now our next story comes from IcyClothes887 and says, am I overreacting for thinking my friend's boyfriend's prank was completely psycho and not funny at all? Hey everyone, I was at my friend's place today evening. Her boyfriend was out and we were alone in her apartment, cooking and talking. Around 10:30 p.m, we heard a noise and noticed someone was inside the flat. We also heard a phone ring, which is not ours, and we were in a panic. I am 9 months pregnant, so defending myself, no chance. So I grabbed the kitchen knife, locked us in the living room, and called my partner to come over. He was in the area and could come by within a few minutes. We exited the living room and could triangulate the person's location to an area where a fuse box controlling the electricity of the apartment was. We left the apartment and waited for my husband to arrive. It was pitch dark outside, and the power went out in the house. We were in complete darkness. Imagine our terror. 2 women alone with an obvious intruder. My friend was frozen in shock and even prepared dialing the police. My heart raced and I was prepared to be attacked and lose my baby and my own life. Then her idiot boyfriend comes out of the house door grinning and doing a surprise gesture like it was the funniest thing ever. Turns out he had literally been cutting the power off to frighten us. I was shaking, and he's over 40 years old. Not some teenager pulling a prank, but a grown-ass man. My friend was mortified, scared, and embarrassed, but I stayed polite, even had a conversation with him afterwards pretending I wasn't upset because I didn't want to make things awkward for her. He even made condescending remarks about her dress and kept interrupting us during the conversation. It was so draining. Now I can't stop thinking about how creepy and immature it was, and I'm angry beyond words. I do not want to see this guy again and will avoid him at all costs. Am I overreacting for thinking this was completely unacceptable and not just a harmless prank? As always with situations like this, whenever the word prank comes up, it's not a prank and you're not overreacting at all. Deliberately making 2 people think they're about to be attacked, one of whom is 9 months pregnant. Cutting the power and hiding and letting it escalate to the point where you grab the knife and you're ready to call the police is fucking just so dumb. Someone could have got hurt, and the stress alone on you whilst you're pregnant as well, I'm lost for words in that guy's thinking. It's just so incredibly dumb. A commenter says, sounds like a good way to cause premature labor or get stabbed out of self-defense. In some countries, shot. The prankster sounds like a drinker and/or someone who lacks all common sense. A commenter says, sounds like he's trying to isolate his girlfriend from all her friends. Opie replied saying, I'm curious. How would he isolate her from her friends? Do you mean because her friends dislike him and stop hanging out with her as a result? Commenter replies saying that's the way, because those friends might voice their opinions and concerns and make your friend doubt the relationship. If those friends stop being around her, they won't see his behavior and won't point it out. Prank is something so harmless that when it's revealed, everybody laughs, including the target. What he did was not a prank. Opie replies saying, oh, I think you opened my eyes to something. We only ever hang out without him, or in group situations with at least 4 people present when he is around. Whenever it's the 3 of us, it feels awkward and weird because of his behavior. Interrupting, coming up with weird random topics that had nothing to do with anything, just cringy. I guess this means that most people never see what he is like. And yes, I agree, this was not a prank. It was so shitty and I hope he understands. Commenter also says not overreacting, but check on your friend too. Sounds like she's in a terrible spot. Make sure you're gentle with her and let her know that you thought the way he talked to her was awful and the psychological torture was not normal. Opie says, thank you. You know, I was thinking that too. I feel a bit awkward addressing it with her because I feel she might be embarrassed. She was really mad at him, especially because he endangered me. She is such a good person. How would you address it with her without making her feel bad? I don't want her to feel like she needs to apologize or anything like this. And one more commentary says, so a psychopath invaded your home, turned the electricity off and threatened you. If anything, you shouldn't have been expected to stay polite and have a conversation with that deranged lunatic. But that's the world we live in where men are crazy. Also, why does your friend have a violent abuser as a boyfriend? She should leave him, and you shouldn't hang around her house if she's with him. Opie says that's an interesting perspective. You're right, of course. Looking at it from that angle, he does seem like a psycho. Something definitely is wrong with him. It seems ridiculous. I want to slap him and tell him off, but instead, a deeply ingrained part of me followed to appease path to diffuse the situation, trying to make everyone calm and like nothing is wrong. I lost all respect for him though, and also asked myself what my friend sees in him. I've honestly asked myself this a little bit from day one, but now I really don't understand it. I like it when the commenters get OPs to ask the real questions here. If they've seen patterns of this kind of behavior before, maybe there's something more going on. But how do you guys feel about this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly is absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.